Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Real Times with MK. I'm Vivek Nair. I'm happy to be here with you guys. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when we kick-started the show with our CEO and COO, this show was started with an intention of helping organizations and leaders who are struggling with delivering the best experience for their customers and also struggling with managing their operations smoothly, etc., etc. As itself, the competition is always uh, giving every leader in every industry sleepless nights. These tough times like this pandemic has given uh, leaders a lot to worry about and think about because of uh, disruptions in the industry and the work arrangement. So we have already had two guests. So today I have an exciting guest with me. So one of the main biggest worries which organization faced was handling customers. Because your customers, their buying preferences have changed. They had a lot of questions, and every organization was given a jolt when the lockdowns were announced. I think the number one impact was on contact centers. Contact centers are the backbone of every industry, every organization's customer support and things like that. So I have Rudraksh Singh Parmar with me. He is the he is the VP, Vice President of Business Process Outsourcing at Batson Kumar. He has a tons of experience in operations management and contact center management. So he's an MBA in operations management with over 15 years of experience in operations management and transactional quality. He has set up multiple BPO programs from ground up, offshore, and bilingual both from an end-to-end standpoint, and has managed businesses in variety of industries like BFSI, payment, terms, mortgage, fintech, you name it, even retail, etc., etc. So prior to Matson Kumar, he was associated with a lot of big names like Capgemini, iGate, Aegis. He has moved multiple roles within the organization. Currently heads the business process outsourcing divisions and one of the service delivery centers in Jaipur. Right? He's a PMP, COPC 2.4, and Six Sigma certified professional, and he is a champion in contact center management. So let's bring him on and bombard him with some questions so that we all understand how to run a seamless contact center operation during these tough times. Hey, Rudraksh, can you hear me?
Hey Vivek, yeah, I can. Can you hear me well?
Yes, 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 yes. I'm so happy that you're here. I hope you are as well. Thanks for joining and thanks for taking time out for this. So, Rudraksh, as I was mentioning, we started this show for addressing concerns of industry leaders and companies in how to deliver the best customer experience during these tough times, right? So we had, as we have seen last week, we had Vivek Anand talking about how e-commerce companies can deliver good CX, etc. So today we have some questions. I curated some questions for you about how to run a good contact center management program at the moment, right? So are you ready? Shall we kick off?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, thanks for giving me this opportunity. And I mean, it's great to be here and see people joining in. Thanks to them as well. I hope I'll be able to add some value to our
Absolutely,
conversation.
absolutely. No doubt about it. Rudraksh. So let me start off this with the first question. Uh,
Mhm.
how has the COVID-19, how has this pandemic impacted the contact center world itself? Can you throw some light on that?
Sure, sure. I mean, quite a touchy topic to start
Yeah,
with. The pandemic, of course, has adversely affected pretty much every industry and all the large service operations, and surely contact center is no exception to that. When I talk about enabling workflows, work from home environment, enabling using the technologies that we have, the advanced AI based technologies and the cloud based technologies that we had, we were always quite, if not completely ready, but quite ready to of course, have a virtual call center kind of a setup done. But of course, a lot of companies across the industry were grappling through these challenges, understanding how to best lay down all the practices, all the processes and systems in place to enable the work from home seamlessly. So yeah, it's certainly been a challenge. It's quite an impact to the industry, because with the lockdowns and social distancing, the physical environment that we were working in had to be decentralized, and we had to kind of get into our homes and manage our operations from there. Contact center being very live on queues has definitely felt the heat of it. Yeah, so
Right.
I would say, yeah, it's quite an impact, but I think we take it as it comes. The industry has, 4 months into the lockdown now. The industry has learned a lot, and with every day, I think we're learning more about working in this environment, and we'll
Right.
certainly talk more on that in detail.
Right, right. For me, I cannot imagine a contact center being run from work from or remote working model, because in US I've seen job openings about remote work agent, and I used to discuss with my team, how is it that even possible? There are a lot
Yeah.
of the workload and the kind of pressures of that job, and remote working may not go hand in hand. That was my perception, but it totally changed. And what one observation I had was when I was supposed to launch this show in February end, and one of the contact center heads of one of the biggest real estate company in India was supposed to be my first guest. So when I reached out to him, he said I will come on the show, but then the pandemic happened. Then it all went crazy, right? People were trying to set up their operations smoothly from getting out of the initial shock and all that. So I think what you have shared correctly sits in that, sets the tone for the discussion. Right. So my next question is, with remote working being enforced upon these days, right? How can organizations ensure that their contact center operations are up and running and also smoothly going on? Because there have been technology challenges and multiple things coming into picture. How can they ensure that it is running seamlessly?
Well, Vivek, see, to start with, I think technology plays a very big role here.
Right.
Technology and the physical infra that we are sitting in, we have to ensure that we have a very strong internet bandwidth, supporting all the applications and the systems that we have in place. Cloud has definitely been a blessing in disguise, and a lot of AI work that is being done by a lot of these companies have really, helped streamline certain processes that could have taken a hit. And I would say on-premise versus the cloud was a very big decision that a lot of companies now are taking,
Right.
and understanding the need of it. So yeah, systems, tools in place, applications that are required to enable the workforce work seamlessly is definitely the topmost thing that needed to be identified. Electricity, for that matter, and having enough backup for it is yet another important infrastructural issue that we've seen call centers go by. How you want to, of course, first lay down these systems in place, and of course have the infrastructure up to its that standard levels that are required, and then go down to the people level issues and people level challenges that you might face. One
Right.
thing is which is very dynamic in a contact center kind of an environment are the updates and the various different process updates that keep flowing in. Having
Right.
a very seamless way of cascading it within the team and ensuring they are being adhered to is one level of one level that we really need to achieve to go to the next level probably. So
Right.
this definitely is the first point. How we are disseminating knowledge within the team, managing our knowledge management systems well, and then of course, if you have a set of agents and the workforce that is already onboarded with an organization, moving them would be, of course, step one. But also, what about hiring new people? What about training new people remotely? That
Right.
again has its own set of challenges. And as we learn through every day that we do this for various clients across geographies, we feel that there is a need for a robust mechanism and a system for training people, and a good mechanism to also do a feedback and coaching, the regular route that has to be taken care of. So I think these are few things that one needs to take care of at level one. I think there on, one would expect certain level of efficiencies and productivity levels that one as an organization you would want to have. So
Right.
supervisors and managers are getting are innovating and getting the new cues of identifying the productivity gaps, and there
Right.
are ways of doing it. Every organization might be doing it differently right now, but for a contact center, and generally every contact center would be doing it differently. One way
Right.
is, of course,
Right.
to have very clear guidelines laid out for the employees, where they know what is in it for them if they follow their job responsibilities well. How are these job responsibilities directly associated to the departmental goals or the organizational goals? So I think
Right.
accountability
Right.
is a lot of big role here, and managing communication, managing the whole engagement of the employee is also one bit of it. I think if I have to sum it up, you know, uh, all of these kind of are building blocks to, and they will add up to making a successful call center run smoothly. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I think those were the main elements of it.
Right. Maybe in the maybe in the beginning of 2020, if somebody would have said that somebody has to, a contact center leader has to run 1,000 agent contact center from home, they would have laughed at. They would not
Oh,
have thought
absolutely.
they would not never have
30,
thought that.
30 years, 30 years into the contact center industry, India has been in the contact center industry for last 30 years. And 30
Right.
years is quite a long period of time. We've never seen such a pandemic happen. And so it's preparing us for the worst, I guess.
Yeah.
And if we get prepared for this, I think we have everything under control for times to come. Yeah.
Right, right. Somebody has there's a quote saying that under every challenge there is an opportunity. Maybe this is good for the industry in the long run. Maybe, yeah. All right, that's a fantastic lot of insights there, right? So I hope the contact center leaders who are watching this are taking notes. So we cannot discuss contact center operations and pandemic without having a middle element, which is business continuity planning, right? So what kind of role do you think BCP would have played, could have played for a contact center seamless operations to continue?
See, to be honest, I'm not a BCP expert, and a
Right.
lot of I'm ready to get a lot of flack on saying this, but I feel that BCP, the way we look at it, the way organizations have their BCPs laid out, they're typically into three categories. One is a building wide BCP that you prepare
Right.
for. The other is a city-wide BCP that you prepare for, and
Right.
the last level could be a statewide or a nationwide.
Right.
Nothing would have suited here in this particular pandemic. None of these were applicable. Definitely, there is a need of having a strong protocol when we invoke a BCP, and that protocol in itself would trigger it to the crisis management team, which has various functions involved in it. That have to kind of get together, and that's pretty
Right.
much what has happened this time as well. If I talk about MK, I can very well talk about how we dealt with it. It was our crisis management team quickly understood that there is an issue that we are headed for, and we quickly got the entire committees involved. How we worked around, that was we had each and every function driving the core, needs that were, and it was basically project plotted, and then from there we clearly understood that this needed something where we had to decentralize locations, and we'll have to probably go by checking the internet bandwidth, how systems can be made available, and things
Right.
like that. So it wasn't the regular simulation activity that we would do for a
Right.
BCP. It was
Right.
very different, and I'm very proud of the fact that we as an organization, MK, if I talk about us, we were able to in the very second week itself, we were able to do us 95% of uptime for all the
Right.
clients who gave us a go ahead. So yeah, I think the traditional BCP wouldn't have really helped here, but it definitely set us very clear in terms of who will manage what. So we had that sense of things, but we had to really innovate and manage this time. So
Right.
yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. No BCP would have prepared us for anything like this. And also, some of the team members are commenting who were in the middle of the entire action, and how MK had bounced back from this. That's fantastic.
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So my next question will be, it's about industry wise, right? Like, for example, your team manages several contact center operations for various clients from diverse industries, right? So have you seen any change in the customer preferences when it comes to their support needs? Because customers might call, email, chat, or whatever it is, but has there any change in the preferences post this pandemic kicked in?
That's a good question. So Vivek, I'll just probably categorize this a little into two. Um, so we work directly with certain organizations, and they are our direct clients. So
Right,
their preferences have also changed, and the brands that we are dealing with, the organizations that we are running the contact centers for, we deal with their end customers. Even their expectations have changed. So if I
right,
talk about our clients, if you go just by go back by a decade, you would see and understand that companies were outsourcing to a contact center because they wanted to save costs. That
right,
was the main the main purpose of it. Uh,
right,
if you go back just 7 years or 5 years back, you would realize that they started to understand that there is more than just saving costs that can be done by outsourcing your contact center. So their preferences changed from that to ensuring that we help them manage those processes that are not probably directly related to their business, but somewhat indirectly related. But they did not have the core expertise in that. So they
right,
understood that the contact centers really know how to manage any kind of interactions, be it social media, be it text, WhatsApps, chats, emails, inbound and outbound calls.
right,
They understood that the whole journey of a customer, if uh, correctly to be tracked, has to be done by an outsourced contact center, and internally they focus on their core business areas. So
right,
that was the second thing that came into light. But if I only just go back a year or even 2 years back, I see a lot of these preferences further change. Of course, these two stay intact. The third preference that has very clearly come in is that we as a contact center are not just consuming the calls or managing the interactions. We really
right,
have to take out business sense out of that and give it back to the organization and the brands to help them enhance their customer experience. So
right,
we have become contact centers have really become very important, and a strategy and a part of their customer experience strategy. Or when I say that, I mean all the clients. So
right,
that is how it has moved in the last 10 years. If I talk about the end customers, any customer, and we can talk about various industries. You talk about healthcare, insurance, retail, hospitality, edtech, finance. I think every customer, the end customer, what he's looking or he or she is looking for are quicker resolutions. You know,
absolutely,
one of those days that you would open a ticket, or you open a and you can have the customer wait for 4 to 10 days
right,
for us to get back. So quicker resolution, it of course comes with the kind of lifestyle we live in. We ourselves are consumers. We know the lifestyle have changed, our behaviors have changed, and with that the expectation is quicker resolution. And because it's an omni-channel world for sure.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
multiple channels that we need to track their customer journey. So having social media as a platform has really I would say has really empowered all the customers, and they would
Absolutely.
want to have that level of that level of interaction with you, that if you are commenting something on a, for example, a Twitter, and you tweeted something about it, and the next day you call in the customer care, my agent taking your call should know about that tweet, should know what you would probably calling for. That is how various channels need to get kind of connected, and I think that's one preference of our end customers nowadays. And I think it'll probably open a Pandora box of uh, you know issues and discussions. But I also feel that with the lifestyle change, and like I said, we ourselves are consumers. Like how we've changed our lifestyle, we also feel that there is a shift where the end customer is looking for longer working and operational hours in terms of the contact center. So
Right.
earlier, if I am to take on a US or an Indian customer care process, I know my typical shift would probably be a 10 to 12 hours
Right.
of the operational window, and only for that particular geography is what I'm talking about. But now customers, they feel that they need the contact center to be up and running and live for at least 15, 16 hours. So of course,
Right.
longer operational hours is also what is expected out of brands and their customer service.
Right. Right.
I think these are the two levels of changes that I've talked about uh, with the clients that we directly deal with and their end customers.
Right, right. So I think we are all used to fast food and everything fast, and we want faster customer support also, right? So
Oh,
the the key term is instant gratification. We all looking for instant solution resolution of our queries. Yeah, that's good actually. It keeps brands on their toes as well. I know famous SaaS brand which runs Twitter as their only customer support channel. They are super fast. You post a question, you post a query, you abuse them, they are on it within a minute. So that's the kind of
exactly.
support they're giving. Okay, fantastic. That's very nice to hear from you. All right. So my next question is about industries. Okay. So pandemic hit it. So which industries, according to you have seen that upward trend in customer queries, and which ones have witnessed a downward spiral?
Well, downward, of course, we all know why. Tours and travel has been one.
Yeah, yeah,
Hospitality, we do a lot of work for some clients who are from the hospitality and the foods and beverages industry.
right,
That has taken a hit. Retail ops has taken a hit. But if I talk about where we see a surge in the volumes, I see fintechs doing well, even with the moratorium.
right,
Of course, the calls are a subset of the moratorium also,
right, right,
the spike calls, but I think they're doing pretty well in terms of how they're looking at managing their customers with their contact centers, being very responsive, sending out surveys, understanding what their financial situation is, understanding the need of the customer through various methods of gauging it and measuring it well.
right,
I think so. Healthcare has really seen an uptick in their volumes.
right,
Insurance has people have really started to understand what kind of insurance that they already have and what is
right,
it that they really need to have. So I
right,
think these are some industries that we've seen an uptick in the volume, and I think as we move on, we are also partnered with a few food aggregators. I think situations there are improving. Volumes there are also kicking in with the lockdowns eased out now.
right,
In fact, unlock. Um, uh, I think the volumes are getting back. Restaurants have started to open, so
right,
we see an uptick of on the volumes there as well.
right,
I
right.
hope, and these are typically the industries that we manage and serve, so I can talk to them.
Yeah, so I think it all depends on the preferences change also these days. When situations got tough, money became the primary resource which people want to save more, invest more, and things like that. So obviously, fintech and all. I was expecting that to be in your the left hand side of your answer, right? And also, I've seen another trend that nowadays the hotels and hospitality industry have started investing more in ads so that they are reopening. So they want to start off with a bang. So that's also a trend which I am observing. That's
I'm
fantastic.
sorry, I'm cutting you here a little. I
Yeah,
do want to make a mention about this. So a very big element of the food aggregators and the restaurants that we're talking about is the contactless dining, and we are supporting some of our clients in that. It is the need of the hour.
right,
How contactless dining is, and we know the back end of it. I won't be discussing that because we're talking about contact centers, but
right,
it is really interesting to see how this industry will also kind of now pick up and go back to its usual peaks of customer experience, and again, people calling in the way they used to, social media having it all over, in the news. So I
right,
think, with the contactless dining and a lot of other essential services, and I would also say essential ways of managing things are getting
right,
important. With
right,
that, I think as contact centers, we come in to help them, educate people. A lot of people didn't even know about contactless dining. Still, we actually made that attempt of letting them know. Of course, they have their own channels of marketing, but we want to ensure that each of their end customers understand how, how, what pains that they are taking to ensure utmost security and safety for these customers.
right, right. So that gave me just another idea that maybe we can have a session on food aggregators customer experience itself.
Oh,
That's
I would
a
love to do that. Yeah, yeah.
that will be fantastic. Yeah, another thing which I have observed, this just came to my mind because I use some of the apps like Swiggy, Zomato, etc. So all of them have put a disclaimer these days. Whenever you ask a question on the chat, they say that due to the limited availability of agents, you might experience a delay, right? So that's a common trend across apps and things like that. Fantastic. All right. So my next question will be about remote working agents, right? Remote working agents in India or Philippines or anywhere, that is a biggest nightmare for most of the organization, right? So what are your tips? Maybe from your own operation experience, or maybe you have seen best practices, etc., etc. What are your tips for ensuring that this remote working agent arrangement works like a charm?
I think, Vivek, I sound a little repetitive here
Yeah,
because
yeah,
a part of it was answered earlier. But I would want to lay a lot of emphasis on laying down a work from home policy, and the procedures along with it.
right,
When you lay down these policies and procedures, employees know for a fact how they are being, because there's a job role, and there is a goal, a departmental goal, and an organizational level goal. Plus, they also know the do's and don'ts of working remotely. And so
right,
all of that needs to be very clearly laid out, and every industry would want to do it differently. For contact centers, because we have a very strict work schedule.
right,
Though we at NK, we try and make that as flexible as possible for people by you know uh, uh, by multiple cross skilling them. But I would still say that having uh, the a clear understanding of what their work from home ground rules are for an employee, and this is not just the agents. I'm talking about the entire workforce at
right.
any given time, is very important. So
Okay.
I don't believe that without this we should even initiate a remote for working kind of an environment, because then everyone will devise their own ways of doing things. We want
Right,
everything, and you as a contact center would want to have a standard procedure for everything, and very
right,
clearly laid out, and certain guidelines that also, because of course safety is paramount to us of
right,
all these employees. So I think what we also need to tell them is how they would want to keep themselves safe, and if there are any symptoms during these pandemic, who to reach out to. Our employee relation comes very important as a function here, in letting all of this, executing all of this basically. So that is work from home policies and procedures. Second thing, again, I'll be sounding like a broken record, but I have to do this. Tools,
Yep.
systems, applications, very important.
Right.
Without which, if we do not enable our workforce enough to make them productive, you will not be able to put any accountability on why they are not optimally utilized or enough productive. So I
Absolutely.
think, and a very important way, and managers across industries, and I would talk about contact centers, have understood this, that if you help them manage the work life balance well, uh, and have clear guidelines laid out, it automatically, they become disciplined. They know for a fact, employees in the workforce know for a fact that there is definitely something that they can go back to, be it the employee relations, be it their immediate managers, and talk about any challenges that they have. So
Right.
yeah, systems, tools, applications, work from home, ground rules, and I think engagement
Yes.
is very important. And
Yeah.
again, I would I would boost the ER team of all many organizations that run contact centers. They do a fantastic job, and I think that's they really help us ensure that our workforce are engaged, be it through learning and development. So of course our training team comes into picture there. Engagement in terms of committee, employee-led committees. So we a lot of organizations, and MK for sure does a lot of CSR work. You remotely can do a lot of things that we never thought we can be pulled out. Uh,
Right.
uh, but actually, it is happening. We are learning how to do things remotely. So I can talk for sure about engagement at various levels. Um, Regular rewards and recognition. People who are doing good need to be rewarded on time. You know
Yeah.
that's that's something that we, of course, we do it when we were physically working in the office, in an office environment. We shouldn't let that lose while we are remotely working. So I think that's important. These
Right.
three things are the core areas that we should work on.
Got it. Got it.
I think
So,
that's, yeah.
yeah, I think I was about to ask on employee engagement, but then you covered it. Yeah. So that's some key best practices or maybe tips to ensure that even working remotely, your team can deliver the right goods to your customers and
Correct.
deliver whatever is expected out of them while staying motivated. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So my next question, so and please don't worry about you going repetitive on answers, because what we want to drive with these sessions are, we want as much as insight possible for the audience, right? So if
Absolutely.
some points need to be driven home, we might have to repeat it a couple of times. So that's okay. That's okay. Right. So my next question will be, what precautions organizations need to take. So I'm very much uh, focused on CX, customer experience with this show. So what I want to know is what precautions organizations can take or need to take to ensure that their loyalty or CX doesn't take a hit during times like these.
Okay. I think loyalty, yeah, it's something that is definitely, everyone wants to have a very low customer churn, and with
Right.
that, I think, I would say the first ground rule is meeting their expectations.
Right.
We talked about the end customers' expectations of shorter queue times, longer operational hours, making sure that they are being heard at across various channels of
Right.
interaction. So
Right.
that of course is, one has to ensure, a contact center has to ensure that you're managing at least the bare minimum KPIs and the needs of the customer.
Right.
But during these times, if I am associated with the brand, I would want to know more about it. What that
Right.
means is, at the contact center, we come in to help them, uh, help companies uh, talk about their new product launches, new service offerings. What is in it that they're doing to ensure their employee safety?
Right.
A lot of these companies, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of a lot of these companies really started to post whatever is happening on a day-on-day basis, whatever steps that they're taking on a day-on-day basis, and all of this leads to a lot of the clients being that stickiness with the clients, as they say.
Absolutely.
So that is, I think, very important. Getting a feedback of how the service has been post sales, during say or post sales or after customer service is another very big element of it.
Right.
A lot of feedback driven through results, customer service results is something that companies should very closely track during these
Right.
times. So I think one, you're giving out information as to what you're doing as a brand. You're talking about your product launches, your service offerings. Um, you're basically giving them everything that they need to know and being very transparent with the customer.
Right.
So I think that will definitely ensure that there is a lot of loyalty and there's that churn, the customer churn that everyone is very worried about. I think that takes a lot of your worries away.
Right.
So I hope I answered that
Yeah,
in
yeah,
my
yeah,
respect.
that's absolutely right. So the right amount of communication about the important things, not annoying them, and also going the extra mile basically for the
I
customer.
I again, it can be debated, but
Yeah.
I feel this is the time to over communicate. I think I will not shy away from saying that uh, we do that. We do that very often with our direct clients, and
Right.
I think they are also finding ways of leveraging us as a contact center and other mediums to engage more with the customer, to let them know more about it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that with that, I think over communication is not a problem during these times. I think if and when we get back to the normalcy, things
Right.
might change a little bit. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of brands doing a good job with communication during these times, and
Yeah.
I have seen the same brands doing a rubbish work before pandemic. And I hope this becomes the new normal, which we're talking about, and it sticks on. Right. That's a good
Absolutely.
thing. So communication is key. Right. So another. I'm again going back to agents. I'm just going to back and forth because I wanted to cover engagement a little bit more. Because the one of the biggest debates when it comes to contact center management, and CX online, one of the biggest debates is how to keep your workforce engaged. It's a toughest challenge. It's been discussed. It's been hashtagged across social networks. A lot of articles, a lot of good resources coming out of it. So I want to get your thought on it. So one of the biggest debate is on keeping your remote workforce engaged, right? So how can contact centers tackle? You touched upon this subject before with the best practices, but how can contact center managers accomplish that task?
Well, Vivek, see, I think, and it might sound a little absurd, but I will still say it because we practice it and it works for us. Um, Accountability gets you engaged in a very big way. So I
Right,
think laying down right accountability across, and this is across levels. I'm not just talking about. I know you want to know more about the agents, but I'm talking about everyone here. Lay down clear accountability and how it is related to their departmental and organizational goals is definitely one.
right,
How we track our employee satisfaction on a weekly and a monthly basis is every organization is doing it differently, but
right,
I would say that is a very important element to take care of around this time, because there
right,
would be certain issues that your workforce would not probably directly call it out to the function and the line managers, that
right.
they need a third party or an extra pair of ears to hear them out. So giving a platform to all the employees where they can engage uh, and openly and without any bias and without having to think twice is very important. I think
Right.
everyone knows about Matson Kumar's three beliefs. So this is the time about of being more and being transparent.
Right,
Be very transparent in laying out accountabilities and how and what will happen if that is missed, and at the same time being very transparent with them on having a two-sided conversation through various channels. Learning and development as a function, as a department, plays a very important role during these times. At an agent level, you know, they they're in the thick of monotony. You know, if you know what I mean.
Yep, yep.
They do this day in day out. They manage these high pressure queues day in day out, and with all of this mounting pressure on them, you know, work life balance does get hit a little. And
Yep.
how you can manage it, you know, and help them manage their work life balance is something that they want to talk about. And a
Right.
lot of people, and I've seen organizations struggle around getting the right employee, call outs at the right time, which eventually leads to an attrition in time to
Right.
come. So I think
Right.
there's a lot that can be controlled with all of these various levels of engagement for an
Right.
agent.
All right. That's absolutely makes sense. It's time to pay extra attention to employees and keep them
Well,
engaged.
yeah,
All right. So any discussion on contact center will not be complete without talking about some metrics, right? So when I came into this industry, I read about the metrics, and I have prepared a Bible of contact center metrics, and it's available on our website also. So
mm,
among the vast metrics every contact center leader must be staying on top of, which are the most critical ones which every contact center leader must monitor during times like these?
okay. Um, See, let's take it by the medium. I would say if I'm talking about an inbound call center,
You're right.
um, an inbound setup, typically what is important here are the queue wait times, and which is directly a KPI which is directly mapped to the queue wait time is your service level. Now, service level, what that means is that a certain percentage of your calls has to be answered within a certain time frame.
Right.
uh, General healthy metric, score to have is about 80 is to 20. That means 80% of your calls are getting answered in 20 seconds.
Wow.
uh, yeah, and MK and other organizations, some other organizations that I know of, are striving to achieve a 90-15 here. That means 90% of calls in 15 seconds of time. With that, what that means to the customer eventually, and how it is important to the brand, is because they will be on a very short queue wait time,
Right.
which definitely adds to the overall customer experience. So I
Right.
think that for an inbound campaign is very important. I think KPI number two is the first call resolution. You know, it goes without saying that everyone wants that resolution the very first hit you do, be it on
Yeah.
chat or an inbound call. Um, a healthy metric score to have is about 75-80% of first call resolution. What that also means is 25 to 20%, sorry, 20 to 25% will be your repeat customers,
Right.
which increases your call propensity. But I think these two metrics, if tracked well, and if you are to ask me to assess an inbound contact center, I would look at these two metrics and tell you if if they are doing well just by the look of the scores that they have on this.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that's and for the I think for outbound we have various kind of campaigns that we run.
Right.
If I quickly talk about the revenue generating campaigns for the clients that we deal with,
Right.
it is lead generations and sales,
Right.
and some part of collections is also uh, revenue generating. But again, it's accounts receivable. So for right now, I will only talk about lead generation and outbound sales. The the most important metric any organization that outsources a outbound contact center would want to look at is the cost per acquisition. What is the
Right.
cost per acquisition of a customer, and what is the cost per acquisition of a qualified lead?
Right.
If you're doing lead generation, then of course qualified lead, and what is your cost? And this cost per acquisition does not include the product cost or any cost that comes before the agent makes a call.
Okay.
So I think CPA is very important for all outbound and lead generation programs that we
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Actually, you bifurcated it by the inbound and outbound. That's very nice. Actually. All right. So, but the next big question I have for you is about omni-channel. Right. As you mentioned, customers are very particular about their preferences. So, How can organizations embrace omni-channel customer service to help their customers on their preferred channel, or is that even important at the moment? What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. It's very important. Like I said, customers expect, them being managed on different levels of interaction and across various channels. Uh, See what, and I was reading it. These are stats not by what I have, but I've read it somewhere, and the numbers that we also track internally as an organization is very close. So I will quote those numbers. If you have an effective omni-channel support system and you build a good solid ecosystem with the omni-channel a platform, in that case, there are chances of 80% of customer retention just
Wow.
by managing interactions. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
and I'm lowballing the number a little because to rubber stamp these numbers, we've been working on certain set of data, but I'm not way off. I'm
Right.
definitely lowballing it. I'm not way off. 80% of your customer retention would happen if we have an effective omni-channel support environment
Right.
that we're living in.
Right.
And if you take that off, uh, it's the number is very scary. It's only a 33 to a 40% of retention that will
Wow.
happen if you take off and you go a single channel or
Right.
even multi-channel, but not an omni-channel. So
Right.
it is definitely in need of the hours, and in fact, it's been in existence in the contact center industry for quite some time now. It has omni-channel as a platform has gotten better with a lot of AI and machine learning work that goes on it. Um, it has gotten smarter, is what I would say. There are a number of companies offering it. We have also developed something internally. So yeah, absolutely. This is the need of the hour, and the future. In the future, I think it holds very very high importance.
Right. So I think 80%, 80% customer retention is good for any company, any industry at any given day, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
So my next question will be on outbound. Handling marketing for MK, I know that the demand for outbound has shot up a little bit since this
Hmm.
pandemic has come in. So times are tough. So how can organizations leverage outbound contact centers to facilitate growth, if they can, during these kind of times?
See, there are various ways of doing that.
Right.
It all depends on where you are as an organization. What are you striving to achieve?
Right.
Uh, who doesn't want sales? Of course, sales is one thing that, of course, is sales by doing outbound outreach to the customers, is that part of your strategy or not, is something that you really need to think of.
Right.
I was speaking to one of our clients the other day, and I did make a mention that they want to go all digital in terms of making sales, and I said that we should give it a try. And I think when we do outbound sales, there is a very good chance that these even if I'm tracking the cost per acquisition minus the product cost and the pre calling costs, I can really bring down, not me, I mean, all the contact center experts can really bring down the cost per acquisition for these customers. So I think one thing really that organizations need to see is the need to do some outbound sales during these times when, of course, digital has kicked in. That has a role to play, but this can definitely be a part of your growth strategy,
Right.
and can be treated as a revenue stream or a unit too, for example. Um, yeah, so that was my 2 cents on sales. If I talk
Right.
about lead generation, it is very important to identify. Vivek, you're from marketing, so you know it all. Very important to identify how how qualified is the lead.
Right.
And I think a lot of companies are struggling with that, on identifying and spending time on leads, and then having to understand that they weren't even qualifying the basic eligibilities.
Right.
So I think we help them with that. We help them set appointments. With the COVID situation, appointment setting has, of course, nosedived a little, but
Right.
like I said, it is picking up again. And there are other ways of doing online appointment setting also. So we help
Right.
in that as well. I think
Right.
so. outbound can also be a channel where you would want to do your first payment default collections, uh, welcome calls to the new customers on board. So you have for e-commerce players, you have a seller on board or you have a buyer on board. You can always, and if you're a startup and dealing with the marketplace, I think it's good to have welcome calls made. Of course, if you're a fintech, it's good to have a welcome call along with a payment reminder
Right.
um, as to when their first payment is there. Any
Right.
kind of alerts as a first payment default is definitely a red alert for any
Right.
financial industry. So we can really, contact centers and outbound as a medium can really um, help them on these pieces. And last, I think surveys are very important, and outbound is one good way of doing surveys to track satisfaction and align it with your customer experience. So I think outbound, if placed correctly, can be a very important part of managing customer experience as well.
Right, right. So what I'm hearing is if outbound can fit in perfectly in your strategy, that
Hmm.
is a good way to go. And thanks for sharing so many use cases of outbound because I was not even aware of some of them. That's very good actually. Right. So I think I have come to an end of this, but before I leave you, I have two more questions, which is very kind of personal and kind of aligned to your current work.
I promise to keep it precise.
Right. So my first question is, how has you and your team helped clients traverse through this tough time? So what kind of maybe some tips, some insights on how some challenge came up and how we have tackled it, or something like that. What kind of work
I
you have done?
quickly, I won't just go about talking about everything here, but I will definitely cite a few examples of who I think we've helped some of our customers and their brands with setting up self-help options,
Oh,
be it through IVR enhancements, designing their IVR well, understanding where a voice bot needs to be placed, if at all it needs to be placed. There will always be a certain level of manual takeover at the moment. Uh, AI has not come to a level where 100% of your complex processes can be managed
right.
by it. But having said that, we've helped a lot of our customers with managing their IVRs effectively, enhancing capabilities there, and also online. Taxonomy being one area where companies really needed our help to understand what is the best way to place your website and how you would want to, kind of um, I'm sorry, I missed that point. So I was saying that various kind of self-help options is what
Right.
we help the client with. And
Got it.
of course, a very big element of things here, in the whole scheme of things here, I think a very big element got missed, which was data security, which I forgot to talk about. I think we gave enough assurance to our clients that through virtual desktop interface or other applications that we use, that their data is secure with us even when we are working remotely and from decentralized locations. So I think
Right.
that assurance was very important. And we did face a lot of challenges as an industry, as a company. We did face a lot of challenges, and we were very transparent in letting our customers know that, what, this is where we are facing a challenge, but we have a workaround.
Right.
And uh, 95 to 99% of times we did have a workaround. And so I think that's how we could help, my team and MK could help our various clients in these different aspects.
Fantastic. I can only imagine what kind of challenging 4 to 5 months you might have had till now. Right. So my final question for the day or the evening is, what do you think the future holds for contact centers and contact center leaders like you?
I don't know about me, but I can certainly talk about the industry. uh, Contact center, by the usage of various kind of technology and of course AI ML coming in, bots being prepared to a level of uh, a very high proficiency
Right.
and confidence levels. I think contact center the whole meaning of the contact center will change in a bit, because of course with managing omni channel, giving business insights and recommendations to all our customers, and managing their end customers, and getting a sense of how they are moving on a day on day basis in terms of behavior and sentiments is expected out of a contact center, and it'll become the new normal. uh, so I think the future is very bright. I say that even with the pandemic on, I say that post pandemic, I will say that post pandemic also, it is definitely very bright, because um, as an organization, you need to ensure that you work on your core business areas. And for that to happen, we as contact center experts need to have your processes, your areas that we specialize in, and help you manage your customers and their overall experience. I think
Right.
that sets the tone for our next meeting.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think according to latest statistics, even I think even today with all these technologies, all these interventions, everything possible, customers still prefer to pick up a phone and talk to somebody. So
Oh
that
yes,
sets that sets the
even
premise.
right now,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Moody. And it was such a pleasure. I learned a lot, to be honest with you, because I'm new to this industry, and it was such a pleasure talking to you. I hope to have you back again soon to discuss some specific areas which contact centers and customer experience professional can focus on. Thank you so much. Stay safe, and I'll catch you soon.
Yeah, just give me a minute. Thanks for having me on this, and I hope I've been able to add some value to
Absolutely.
what you guys wanted to hear and understand. And I would like to thank everyone who's joined here. And please feel free to hit us up at Mats and Kumar if any help is required. So, and
All
thanks Vivek for setting this up. This is great. I mean, life with MK rocks. Thanks.
right. Thank you so much, Rudy.
Take
All right, so that was Rudraksh Singh Parmar, VP, Business Outpost with Nathan Kumar. He shared a lot of insights, right? Who would have thought about outbound in such a way, right? Key insights, key uh, takeaways from this discussion. So I'm hoping to bring more guests on the show on Earth Real Time with MK. So stay tuned every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'll see you soon with a guest next.